So now we're going to start adding all the polish to our game. Before we get started, let's go ahead and commit our previous changes for implementing destructibles. So implemented destructibles. Publish now, save your scene, we're good to go. The first thing I want to do, guys, is I want to fix our weapon. Now, you might be wondering, what's wrong with our weapon? Well, let's go ahead and run the game and let me show you. Right now we have our rifle, so let's go ahead and purchase it. The E key, let's go ahead and pick up our weapon. Oops. And now everything looks great, but watch what happens when I walk into this box. Notice my gun is clipping through the crate, as well as everything actually. My gun clips through everything. So, just like the destructible with the box was sort of a magic trick, there's also a magic hack to this manipulating cameras. So Unity allows us to basically create visibility layers. You can see here in the top right, we have layers. We have default layers, we have transparent layers, we have water layers, we have raycast layers, and we can create our own layers. So what I want to do is I want to create a visibility layer that's special to our weapon, and it's going to draw our weapon on the main camera, it's going to draw our weapon on the main camera as its own camera. So it's a little confusing, however, it's very easy to set up. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a new camera, and our weapon is going to be drawn separately. So we're going to have a camera dedicated to our weapon, and we're going to have a camera dedicated to our player. So let's go ahead and create, if you right click in your hierarchy, let's go to camera, and you'll see here that it has a layer of default. Let's go ahead and add a layer, and go ahead and call this weapon. Head back over to your camera, and let's go ahead and assign it the weapon layer. The next thing you want to do is you want to set the clear flags from Skybox to depth only. That's going to ensure that only our weapon is actually drawn. The next thing you're going to want to do is go ahead and drag this camera into our other main camera, and go ahead and reset the position. So by right clicking on your transform and going to reset. The reason why we want to do this is because we want the weapon and the main camera to be identical. We still want everything to line up as if you're still using one camera, even though we're using two. So when I rotate, I want it to follow everything like that. So inside here, we have our weapon. And what I want you to do is drag your weapon now into your actual camera, and go ahead and rename this to weapon cam. So here we have our main camera, then we have our weapon cam, and then we have our actual weapon. Now on our weapon cam, go ahead and select the layer weapon, and it's going to say, do you want to set layer to weapon for all child objects? Say yes. And then what we're going to do now is we're going to click on the main camera, and we're going to say the layer, we're going to say there is a setting here for a culling mask. Instead of drawing everything, we're going to not draw the weapon. And if you click on the weapon cam, you go to culling mask, we're going to do nothing. And then we're going to go to weapon. And let's turn on the weapon. And you'll see now that our weapon is drawn on a separate camera. So it's a little confusing to follow this. However, what we did was we created a layer. We created a new camera. I gave it the weapon layer. I put our weapon inside that camera. I set our clear flags to depth only, so it only draws the weapon. And as you can see, as I select this weapon camera, we get that camera preview. It's only the gun. If I were to change this to, say, skybox, it would render our skybox. We don't want that. I want depth only, so it's just the weapon. And then also, what's really important here is the depth. I want to set that to 1 so that it's always drawn on top of the main camera. So basically we're like painting it on top. Next, we had the main camera, and we kept the layer at default, but we changed the culling mask from everything to ignore weapon. So now if we go ahead and actually run this, you'll see here that as I walk around, my weapon will no longer go into the crate, it's now drawn on top. So a pretty cool camera hack, and I'll see you guys in the next video.